this is my love and marriage religion project, or How Michael Met Cheryl. These are my parents, Michael and Cheryl Arbouet. So, how did you two first meet?
I used to work in a pharmacy on Jerusalem on the corner. And your dad came into the store one day.
Well, she's not really explaining it properly. Okay. The pharmacy was down the block from Grandma and Grandpa's house. So it was in the house that I grew up in, and it was down the block. It's always been down the block, and Cheryl worked there for like a long time. So I was supposed to get a Secret Santa gift for my job, and I completely forgot about it. So I decided to go to the pharmacy to get a quick gift because, I didn't want to waste too much time buying the gift. So I walked into the pharmacy, I was looking around for a gift, and I found this really cute frame saying me and Pepe, as in Pepe Le Pew. And the person I was getting the gift for, she had a dog named Pepe. So I thought this is the perfect gift. But it didn't have a box. So I went around to the counter to ask the beautiful girl if she had a box that I can put the frame in. And she said, don't worry about it, I'll wrap it. So she said, come around to the other side, because the pharmacy had two sides. One side had the drugs and medicine, and the other side had gifts.
It was like a gift store. It had cards and balloons and gifts and all of that stuff.
So when I went to the other side to give her the frame so she could wrap it, I noticed that she was limping. And I said, oh my God, what happened? And she said that she had accidentally cut her leg on a drawer behind the counter. But when I looked, it wasn't...
my jeans and everything.
Yeah, it was a big rip. So I said, you need to take care of that. So I went into doctor mode, even though I'm not a doctor. And I put a bandage on it. And then I said, hey, if you ever want to get together, here's my card. Give me a call. And that's how I asked your mother out.
How old were you when you met each other?
We were probably dating for, 3 years?
Yeah, about that.
3 years.
So, like, from when you were dating, what was it like? How was your,
Well, dating in the 90s, is that what you want to know? Well, okay. The first date was kind of cool because I asked your mom out, but then she asked me if I wanted to go to a museum with her.
That wasn't our first date.
What was our first date?
Our first date was at an Italian restaurant and to see the movie Scream 2.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That was our first date. I asked you out on our second date.
Yes. I asked Mom out on her first date, and it was dinner and a movie, which I don't know if you kids do that anymore. We went to an Italian restaurant, and then we saw a horror film. That way, if she got scared, she could snuggle up next to me. And then you could tell about our second date.
Our second date was the Metropolitan Museum because it's my favorite place in the city. And I love the Egyptian wings, so I wanted to take him to my favorite place in New York City.
So those are the type of things that we did when we did. We went places. It wasn't just like we didn't stay home and watch Netflix. There was no such thing as Netflix. So we would go, to, well, not bowling because your mom didn't like bowling, but
Won't wear those shoes.
But we went to the movies, we went to coffee houses, we went to restaurants. At the time, we went to Jillian's, which later on became Dave & Buster's. So we did a lot of stuff. But when you're going out and dating, you want to go and experience new things and see new things together.
So, what was your engagement like? How did you two get engaged?
We decided to get married. Well, we're thinking about marriage maybe after a year to 2 years of dating. And I had bought the ring with my friend Larry, which is Uncle Larry. And but that was after asking your mom all kinds of questions like, what kind of ring did she like? What's her style? Everything else. And I had the ring in for a while, I guess maybe 2 months before I even actually asked her, but then I came up with this great idea about asking your mom to marry me at her favorite place in the museum, the Egyptian wing where that pool of water is. So
Denver Temple.
When I got to the Met, it was the Met, right?
Yes, the Metropolitan.
When I got to the Met, your mom was like, where's this exhibit? But the exhibit didn't exist. I had made it up just to get her there. So I said, oh, well, I guess it must have ended. Let's just go to the temple and check it out. So we go over there, and I start talking to her, telling her about life and love. At least that's what I thought I was saying. I don't remember what I was saying. I was just babbling like an idiot because I was very nervous.
And Daddy's voice was getting faster and faster and faster. It's like, what's he doing? What's going on here? What's going on?
So finally, I ended my speech because I don't remember what I was saying, but it was good. And then when I got onto one knee, that's when she realized what was happening, and she yelled, "Oh my God!" But the area was like a temple; it was very quiet, so her voice echoed throughout the entire temple, and everyone was like, "What's going on?" And what felt like hours, but it's probably only seconds.
It was only seconds.
Your mom said yes, and everybody started clapping, and the rest is history.
So, what was your engagement like? Like the waiting period before getting married? Like, how was it?
Well, after we got engaged, now don't laugh, because it was in the mid to late 90s. I was the only one who had a cell phone at the time, but so I whipped out my cell phone, and we started calling family, let them know that she was engaged. And people were like, "Why does he have a cell phone? Like, who does he think he is?" Yeah, that's more people had beepers back then than cell phones. But my dad, your grandpa, and me, we were tech heads, so we had to have the latest of everything. So that's why I had a cell phone. So after we let everyone know that we were engaged, we decided that we would, save money to get married. So we decided it'd be a good idea to be engaged for a year, and during that year we would save our money, and we'd have to get money for the wedding, the church, the hall, everything that goes.
Plan everything out.
So we were engaged for a year, and of course we went through prpject, which is in the Catholic Church, which the church kind of asks you, "Are you sure you want to get married?" And they kind of ask their own questions. So it was a very interesting time.
Like, what questions did they ask?
Well, it's funny. Okay, just so you know, part of the things in church that were really funny, they separated us, and they asked us each if we had children outside of wedlock, which we didn't. But that was very nerve-wracking to say to a priest, "No, I don't have any other children outside of marriage." Then they also asked you, if you get married, are you going to raise a child Catholic? And we're like, "Yes, of course." But they really want to make sure, that you do that. So, they kind of ask you that. They ask you all the questions that couples should know. So to tell you a really funny story, a lot of people that say they're going to get married, but if they don't go through prpject, they might not know things about each other. So the priest told us this really funny story about how this couple got married, and the wedding went up without a hitch, and then they moved into their new house, and as she's unpacking her packages, she keeps finding these beautiful brass vases, and she goes, "Oh, I never knew my husband was so cultured. Look at these beautiful brass vases." And she sets them up, near the living room, and she's about to put flowers in them, but she doesn't have any, so she just figured she'll set them up, and then she'll go out the next day and get flowers. And when the husband comes home, he smiles and goes, "Oh, you found them," and then spits into one of them. And she goes, What the hell are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I chew tobacco. These are spittoons. But, I didn't think you'd want to marry me if you knew I chewed tobacco." So the key to marriage, and what the priest was trying to tell us in prpject, was that communication is key, and that you shouldn't hide anything from your future, spouse.
Well, how old were you when you guys got married?
Well, it's funny. We were one of the last couples to get married in our group of friends. Cheryl will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were both around 28. At least I was 28.
I was a little bit older.
But yes.
We'll leave it at that.
I was 28 when we got married.
How would you describe your wedding day?
Magical. No, our wedding day was really cool because we got married on 9/9/99. Okay.
So we could never forget it. And everyone else would remember too.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention back then, it was also the day of the MTV Music Awards. So I worked near NBC at the time, and I was able to get some swag from MTV. So I got the groomsmen watches from the MTV Music Awards that say 9999 on it.
It's cool.
Yeah, so we got married on a Thursday, and it was right before Labor Day weekend, so we turned it into a 4-day weekend. So a lot of people came to our wedding, more than I ever thought would come, because I figured, we invite everybody, most people will say no, and this is what we'll have. So I don't have a big family, but Mommy has a big family, and a lot of her relatives are, as you know, are from London and Europe.
Jamaica and Canada, and they're all over, so...
So we didn't think they would say yes, so we invited them all. And
they came.
Everybody except...
They showed up to party and celebrate our nuptials with us.
Everybody except the relatives from Australia came.
Yeah, that's true.
So we had a pretty big wedding.
What were you both looking for in a marriage and in a spouse? I don't know, what were you expecting marriage to be like?
Somebody you could talk to?
Yeah, someone who was caring. Your mom said she wanted someone who would make her to laugh, so I tried to make it my best to make her laugh all the time.
You did. Your dad's the funniest person I know.
And,
someone who's kind.
Yeah, someone you can share your intimate secrets with. That's what's important.
How did the reality of marriage compare to the expectations? Was it how you thought it would be, or how was it different?
Nope, the expectations pretty much covered what I thought marriage would be. The only difference is that as you get older and you have children and stuff happens, you get bills, so you don't anticipate spending as much money and doing stuff, So what I wish that, in the beginning, I'd save more money, so I'd have more money now to share with you guys. So we weren't really good at saving money at the beginning of our marriage because it was just the two of us. So, we didn't have to worry about anybody else. But that's the only thing that the difference between getting married and later on years is just, how to tackle certain problems and stuff.
How did the reality of marriage compare to the expectations? Was it how you thought it would be, or how was it different?
We had kids.
Kids change everything.
How did they change everything?
Because it's not about you.
It's not about us anymore.
Yeah, then we have to think about, you, and we have two of you and your sister, so you guys become the priority. So we end up putting a lot of things on the back burner for family, and that's that's how it is. So.
Can we do it again?
Yeah. Maybe.
How important is having similar values or sharing a religion in a marriage?
It's very important, because if you didn't have similar values or even maybe the same religion, you might not agree on certain things, So, for example, let's say Mom was from a different religion that didn't eat meat, then I wouldn't be able to make steak on a barbecue or anything like that. It'd be very different. So it's very important, that's just one aspect of it, but it's very important that, we both agree on the same things, because then even down the line, like raising you kids, we'd have to agree on how to raise you.
Making a plan.
Yeah.
I guess if we didn't, if that were an issue, where religion was an issue, and we would have had to have planned ahead for all the things that we would do or what we would want, and being able to communicate what you want is I think the most important thing in terms of and making a plan.
So going back to values and stuff, how important is sharing a culture in a marriage, sharing your cultural values and stuff like that?
Our cultural background in terms of our family is very mixed, and I like it that way. I like that we have lots of different cultures in our family, and that you're all exposed to the differences and appreciating and enjoying the differences and celebrating the differences as well as the similarities. I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. Ditto.
What would you say is the key to a happy marriage?
The key to happy marriage is happy wife, happy life. No, communication is key. You know, having a loving relationship is key. And just
Liking the person you're with.
yeah.
Not just loving, but liking the person that you're with is important.
Yeah.
Do you think a couple should live together before they get married?
That's a tough one. You know.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, it's
What
like
works for one
like
person?
I tell you right now, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa wouldn't have us living together before marriage because that's their cultural values. And you know, I grew up in a similar, state, so it's hard. But at the same time, I can understand why people might want to because you learn about each other's habits and stuff before you get married. But I think
No
that's
spittoons.
But I think that's part of the magic of getting married. Like when you decide to commit yourself to another person, you're gonna have to learn to compromise. You're gonna have to learn to communicate, and that goes, with marriage. Mm-hmm. So, I think you'll learn all that once you get married and you live together. I think sometimes if you live together before you're married, sometimes you not like you end up living. I don't want to say separate lives, but a lot of times when you are living on your own, you have your own habits, and then it's very hard to break your own habits to include somebody else. Do you understand?
Yeah. I think you guys have covered everything. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me. And thank you for answering all the questions. It gives new insight to, about love and marriage. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Love you.
Love you.